Mom, can you help me with this? I don't get it. What does she mean by this? Do I have to do this work? If you have heard these expressions, you are likely the parent helping your kids with learning at home. During the pandemic, parents across Canada are having to manage work, figure out online systems, be tech support, and simultaneously helping their kids get through the curriculum. It is a challenge for all of us, including myself. Teachers are doing their very best to provide the curriculum online for kids in easily digestible ways, but us as parents, we have to really engage with the kids in this online learning to get them through it. If you are feeling frustrated and overwhelmed, you are not alone. Today, my guests will give you practical strategies and tips and some resources to make your life easier starting today. Welcome to Beyond the Classroom. I'm your host, Cathy Thompson. My first guest today is Jill Campbell. Jill is a lifelong learner and active mother of two beautiful children who we're going to see later in the program. She is an Ontario certified teacher and employed by the Halton Catholic District School Board as a special education resource teacher, otherwise known as CERT. Jill is creative, and I know she does a little photography and writing on the side, and I know she's going to have some great perspective as a teacher and parent for us with this whole learning at home. So welcome to the show, Jill.
Thanks, Cathy, for having me.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate your time. So learning at home, I think we're going around week 5 right now. So how's it going? You've got 2 kids in primary. Like, how are things?
Yeah, I think it's good. I think like anything else, there's some growing pains when you're getting used to something new, and this is kind of a new territory that a lot of us are not familiar with. Obviously, e-learning is a relatively new thing, and we're kind of navigating that as we go as teachers professionally. And there's obviously still like hiccups and things that can go wrong. But I think at home, it's been a lot of trial and error, and just seeing what works and what doesn't work. Obviously, my girls are like you said, primary. One's in SK senior kindergarten, the other one's in grade 2. So I will have different challenges than a parent would with, say, like a intermediate or senior, a high school student. But I think on the whole, like I said, once we got over those initial challenges, I think we've kind of found our strides, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the idea, what you said about trial and error. I think that is truly, really reflects what's happening here. And every family is so different. So that's great that you're engaging in it. And so I'm really curious. I know that you are super creative. I'm wondering, what are some of the things that you're doing with your girls that are adding to their learning, but a little bit outside of the curriculum that the teachers are posting or sending home?
So things that we're kind of doing outside of that, I think a lot of it's this whole idea about experiential education. And, when we're working all day, we come home, the kids are tired from school. We don't really have that opportunity as much to really experience and maybe just get outside. So that's something that I've really been pushing, trying to keep it like a regular school day too, and having a routine. So doing at least 2 sessions of DPA, daily physical activity outside, and just exploring our community. And there's a lot of things that we've never really realized that we have in this area, especially nature and things that are of ecological significance. And so I think it's opened up the girls' eyes to a lot of different plant and animal species. So that's a big thing for me, is just really getting them to, get outside of the classroom, so to speak, and, really see what we have. And, from making homemade bird feeders and then being able to observe some of the different species in our backyard, things like that, and celebrating Earth Day. Last night there's a super moon. I don't know if you heard about that. It's the last one of 2020, apparently. Super full flower moon or something. It was incredible. And I dragged them out in their pajamas and I'm like, check this out, guys. This is something that we don't know. Sometimes life gets so busy in the day to day that, I'm like, let's just stop and kind of smell the roses and see wow, check this out. We've got this little forested, cool ecosystem that we live in. And, so that's, I think, the big thing for me is of what, we normally wouldn't be able to do. It's that real experiential part of the education piece for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think that takes a lot of getting used to, though, right? As parents, pre-COVID, we've been so busy. We're just navigating our regular activities in life, and you drive past the moon. Oh, there's the moon, guys, and but you don't take those teachable moments and that
Yeah.
time to really engage
Yeah.
the kids and say, what is this? What does this mean? What are the moon cycles, for example? So I think those are some creative ways that we can really just literally step out the front door in many cases, look around, and just take part in our community. I think those are
Yep,
some great tips.
for
And
sure.
how are the girls reacting to those types of activities versus like the online school?
Yeah, I mean, really good. And again, because my girls are younger, there is an online portion, obviously, component, and the teachers, are fantastic. Like, again, we're all navigating this kind of for the first time, and trying to get like a primary curriculum in an online platform is difficult. But, and they're getting used to working on a laptop, working on an iPad, and using all these different, formats. And it's the same with everybody across the board. But I think they're enjoying it. Again, like, it took a bit of time to get into the full swing of things, but there are different things that families can use to obviously help them, at least get as much as they can out of the whole experience. So some of the things that I've thought about is like creating that routine. What works for you? Because what a routine that works for one family might not work for another. I know a lot of families that are, still working. Both parents are working from home, and then also trying to juggle the education piece. So it's difficult to balance that. Some people who are essential workers, they need to be, going to work still. So there may be other people that are being caregivers. So it's very, very difficult. But I think having a kind of a routine really helps. Students and parents kind of keep up with that, and creating a consistent environment as well. Maybe choosing a specific room in your house that's, less distractions as possible. But, for example, our kitchen has become our classroom. I don't know if you can see on the back, like, we've got like paint art and spelling words, word wall words, everything.
Love it.
And it's just, our kitchen has become our classroom. And this is kind of our space where the three of us kind of sit down and kind of tackle what's going on. So I think, environment and routine is important. The key thing is communication too. I know we always talk about, between parents and students and children, but also teachers. It's like a trilogy. So I think that the communication piece is key, and students can still communicate with their teachers through a lot of different formats. People are getting creative with all kinds of different things, direct messaging, forums, chat rooms, even on Google Slides, there's a question and answer feature you can enable if people don't feel, comfortable speaking out in a kind of on a video or a Zoom chat or whatever, people are using. So that, I think that's key. And another thing that I didn't really realize or think of was leveraging siblings as well.
Yeah.
So sometimes using older siblings, it's unbelievable. Just watching, Maeve and Isla, Maeve being the older, saying, you know what, Isla, actually, I can help you with that counting or, addition or subtraction problem that you're doing. And so I think when we leverage people in our own families, whether it be your parents, even aunts and uncles, but siblings being a key, I think that's something that I've really realized over the course of this pandemic is, letting them help each other and just kind of using that, helping out with each other. So.
Yeah, I like that. I like that very much, leveraging family members too. And what just popped in my head was maybe, brainstorming some members of our family who don't necessarily live with us, but you could connect with online that have those different skills. Maybe they know a different language and can, talk to kids in that way. Or let's say a child's in French immersion and they really need that French support, and an uncle in Calgary speaks French, connecting them in that way. And
Exactly.
using family, I really like that. And I wanted to go back actually to your point about connecting with teachers.
Yes.
And so I think some parents feel like they have to manage everything on their own. That it's like, okay, well, I'm an adult here. The work's coming home. It's meant for the kids. Like, I can't reach out to the teacher by email or call them and say, I don't get it. Or, what, can you clarify this for me? Like, that's appropriate, right? That we can reach out to the teachers as parents.
100%.
Okay.
We're all accessible via different, it may be email for one, a lot of teachers use different platforms like Class Dojo. I know D2L is also a big one in our board, Google Classroom. So there are multiple ways that we can interact. And I know some teachers are using Zoom as well and other platforms. to engage with students. I know Maeve's teacher in grade 2, they do a weekly spelling test on Zoom. So that's really great because she can connect with everybody. They have an opportunity to say, you know, this is what's happened with me this week. Because I think, you know, for students, especially high school, which is what I teach secondary, you know, there is a little bit of the onus on the student themselves because, you know, they know their teacher, and a lot of the teachers, you know, they know. That's the unique thing about this experience is we actually knew the students before this happened. There was about a month of
Right.
instruction, so it's
Yeah.
not like they're just names on a page. So there
Yeah.
is that connection that's there, and I really hope that will kind of break that barrier, so students will feel comfortable reaching out.
So we're
Sure,
almost done, actually. So
sure,
I just wanted to go back to actually a few
sure,
resources
sure.
that you could specifically share with our parents watching to say, like, these are my go-to things that you can use today, along with all the tips you've obviously given us.
For sure, yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of great online resources and websites that I'm happy to share. I know our board has like an e-learning kind of tips and other board approved websites that whether it's numeracy, literacy, and all kinds of stuff like that. The e-learning coach is somebody that I follow online as well, and they have a lot of good tips about e-learning and some do's and don'ts for teachers and for learning at home. So I find that really works well. And then D2L, which is one of the platforms that we use in our board, they also actually have a lot of tips as well. That will help students, and both students and parents and educators engage their audience more.
Great. Those sound like
The,
terrific resources, like just fantastic. There's so much out there. I know parents
it's overwhelming. Yeah, it can be
it kind of is. For sure. Yeah. So I just want to thank you so much. I know our time goes quickly together, and just as a parent and teacher, I think that you've added a lot of terrific resources for families. And I love the idea of incorporating nature and outdoor time and learning in that way. So thanks for those tips. Up next, we are actually going to talk to your daughters about their perspective on learning at home. Yes. Thank you again, Jill. I really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Welcome back. This is Maeve and Isla, Jill Campbell's beautiful daughters. Thank you so much for joining me today. I just wanted to share a little bit about the girls before we get into the questions. So Maeve is 7 years old. She loves hamsters. She jumps rope and hula hoops, which is awesome. She loves to play with her sister Isla, especially outdoors. And I hear your favorite colors are purple and blue. Yes. Okay. And Isla is 5 years old. She loves dogs, likes playing with her sister Maeve, of course. And I hear your favorite colors are pink and that's it. Just one favorite color, not two. And you want a dog, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like my kids too. So I want to know, you guys. I want to know. So Isla, I'm going to start with you. What is it like being at home all day with your mom and dad instead of going to school?
It's kind of a bit weird because normally we're at school.
Yeah. Yeah. And is it busy at home?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're like outside and indoor playtime and
That's great. And do you get to sleep in?
yeah.
Cool. Well, that's different, right? That's great. And then Maeve, what's it like for you learning on the computer and seeing your teacher on the computer or getting your work on the computer? Is it hard?
Well, actually, I'm getting the hang of typing a tiny bit, but I still don't know what some of the other buttons do.
Yeah.
So, but we're playing a whole bunch of games on there, and I really enjoy that. So.
Oh, good. And so are they games that your teacher has recommended for you guys?
Yeah, we have
Oh,
a whole bunch.
well, that's cool. So that's sort of different than being in school, right? You don't play games all day in the classroom. That's cool. And can you tell me, Isla, can you tell me what are a couple of the favorite things that you're doing each day with your mom?
Maybe kind of exploring outside of nature and
Yeah. And do you go in the forest?
Yeah, I like going in the forest for walks. And
Cool. And then what about you, Maeve? What are a couple of your favorite activities that you think other kids should know about that you're doing with your mom?
well, we have we've been going into forest like Isla said, and exploring, and we go to the two forests. One of them has like a I think it's
A little stream, yeah.
yeah, it's a little stream.
Mm-hmm.
And also I also like going on scooter rides and doing chalk and skipping and hula hooping on our driveway.
On the driveway. Yeah, that makes sense. And do you miss going to school? Do you guys miss going there?
Yeah, I miss going to school and stuff, but I'm not. I don't.
You miss the work? Don't miss the work?
I don't really miss what we're doing. Because it's also a bit easier at home, because at school at school there's a lot of kids in, like, not a lot, but like there's a few kids in the class, and with just me and Isla, it's not as busy as it is in my classroom.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? And what about you, Isla? Do you miss school?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually really like learning.
Yeah. And do you get to talk to your friends on the computer or on the phone?
I get to talk to my friends with Zoom chat. I do a private one with my teacher, cause I'm on she did today, so we read, like, she set something up, I don't know what, but I'm on level N, but today she did a level N book.
So. That's good. So she's still challenging you, even from afar. Well, that's great. Well, I want to thank you guys so much for being on the show today. There's so many kids out there like you that are at home. They're painting pictures like the ones you have there in your kitchen. They're trying to learn on the computer and being home with mom and dad. So just thanks for all your tips today. And it was so nice to see you guys.
You too.
Thanks. My final guest today is Rihanna Coopman. Rihanna is an Ontario certified teacher who is licensed to teach primary and junior. And she works for the Halton District School Board along with the Waterloo District School Board. She recently completed a placement in a kindergarten classroom. That must have been fun. And she's also a tutor with Beyond the Classroom. And so I wanted to talk to Rihanna today to get her perspective as a teacher in the classroom as well as a tutor to find out more about learning at home and ways that we can support students with this, as well as supporting parents. So welcome, Rihanna.
Nice to be with you guys.
Thanks so much. So as a teacher and tutor, what's some of the feedback that you're getting from students in both environments around this Learning at Home initiative?
Well, I think, like, as a whole, e-learning has been a big learning curve for everybody, whether it's teachers, tutors, students, parents. So it's a lot of, like, we're learning as we go. I would say I've had the most success both as a teacher and a tutor by using platforms that my students are already familiar with. So using platforms that I've used in the classroom already, and that's starting in primary, even with some of my kinders that I've had in the past. So big ones we've been using is like Google platforms. So Google Drive, like using Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Forms, Google Hangouts. And I think that's been a lot more successful than teachers or tutors for trying to utilize new technologies, because it's hard on both them and the students as well as the parents who are trying to navigate new subjects and on top of that try to navigate new technology. So it's a lot of like overwhelming for everybody, but also trying to create learning at home that's not necessarily online or on the computer, but trying to do like hands-on stuff within their homes. So with some of my primary students, for math example, doing a lot of stuff with like cans or beans or rice as manipulatives, because most homes are going to have that. and being clear that like you don't have to just use beans, you could use something else for each of these things, but having something that's hands-on that they can complete at home that are accessible for like essentially all my students. So it's not just like, oh, this would be great on an iPad, but some of my students don't have that opportunity to work on that, even a computer. So trying to access all students, make sure that these lessons are inclusive as possible. And I think that's what's being the most successful, and a lot of teachers are finding that, trying to like break away from only being on the computer or only on technology, and let's see how we can get things hands-on at home.
Yeah, I really like that idea of the hands-on at home piece.
Mm-hmm.
And so in terms of the technology, I know a lot of kids are very familiar with the Google Classroom, but I've seen a lot of parents really struggle with trying to figure this system out. Do you find that you have more questions from parents trying to navigate Google Classroom?
Yeah, I've actually heard of like some of my students, especially my tutoring students, because most of them are junior or intermediate, getting to teach their parents about things like Google Drive and like how incredible the program actually is. So it's kind of cool to create an opportunity for kids to pass on information and teach their parents about things to do with technology that could actually help their parents in the future. Because like I said, things like Google Docs or Google Spreadsheets, all that kind of stuff, it's such an incredible platform to use for anybody, not just in schools. So it's been kind of fun for my students who are like, oh, I taught my mom how to do a Google slide today and how to share it with me and all that kind of stuff. So it's been kind of fun in that way.
Yeah, I could see that though. My kids are in grades 8 and 10, and I thought I had a handle on Google Classroom, but there are some things I was like, oh, and just things automatically saving work, and these nuances that are so easy compared to what we're used to. You just know what you know, right? So I think that's a great point, that kids have the opportunity now to even feed up those technology pieces to the parents and know, yes, Mom, I'm on my phone, but I'm actually doing my schoolwork on my phone. So talking about more of the manipulatives, are there, do you find that teachers are providing more information about ways to, okay, you can do the assignment in this way, but then you can also do it in this way that's more hands-on, like more differentiated? Do you find that work is coming home too?
I think more in our primary, maybe even junior, where it is a lot more hands-on. I think it's a little bit more difficult once you get up to maybe the higher, like the grade 6, intermediate, high school, for it to be differentiated in the sense of manipulatives. But for sure, I'm seeing a lot of my colleagues and my friends who have been doing this for a while are trying to like give options and multiple open, like ended ways to approach it. For example, my one friend is a grade 1 teacher in Hong Kong. This is her 3rd year of that. She works at an international school there. And they've been in lockdown and been doing e-learning since beginning of January. So it's been fun talking to her about the different methods and what she's been doing, because she's been doing it for months already. So
yeah, that is cool actually, to have that connection and see, okay, that might be coming down the pipe, or a different way we can look at this. So I'm finding that the motivation to get through the curriculum, to get through the work, to do the work, even though kids have all day long in many cases, what are some tips you can give parents to motivate their kids or engage their kids in this learning experience?
Yeah, I think that definitely is a huge concern, motivation and communication in general. And I think that it's really important for parents to understand and observe their child's learning behaviors and like patterns of how they like to do work, and try to cater to that as much as possible. And a big one that I'm like kind of considering is understand like where your child, how long it takes of them doing schoolwork, explicit schoolwork, where they disengage. So for example, my kinders, I could do about 15, maybe 20 minutes with them before they just like, it started to turn to chaos, like they couldn't focus anymore. So planning breaks before that disengagement happens. So for kinders, they can do 20, stop it at 15. For maybe older school kids, like grade 6, 45 minutes is all that they can seem to handle before they start to shut down. Maybe drop it down to 40 minutes and kind of create that atmosphere where I'm not like just like forcing this child to continue to do something that they're not getting anything out of. So one of the things I would recommend is use a timer. We use those all the time in school. So let's say they're starting their math work. Like, okay, we're gonna do this for 20 minutes. Set the timer. the student knows, okay, after this time goes, I know I get to do something else. And it also motivates them to kind of work harder, I find, and stay focused because they have a certain amount of time before we're like, okay, no, I'm done. So like using a timer and having an understanding of how long that they can work for, and then planning breaks based on that. So let's say they can do 30 minutes, set that timer, 30 minutes. After that, we're going to go for a walk as a family, or you can watch your favorite TV show, and after that's done, we can go back, or maybe jump onto like a resource such as like Go Noodle or Cosmic Kids, so their bodies can get moving before moving back into it. And then I think it's important to establish that consistent routine too. Like so many of our kids at school, they get to school, this is the first thing they do, then they know they have to do that, and they thrive on that schedule and that routine because they know what to expect. So trying to create that routine at home, I think, could be really, really important for a lot of our students.
I like those ideas that you've presented. So in terms of the timer, the routine, the taking breaks, and every child is so different, right? So it's, finding really what works for them. So in our last minute or so, can you share some of your go-to resources that parents can just like grab onto and along with your tips?
Yeah, so a lot of the resources I'm going to talk about are for supplemental learning, because a lot of our students maybe aren't getting as much work as they're used to, or maybe parents are feeling that they're not getting as much as they like. So I would say when it comes to supplemental learning, it needs to be fun. It needs to be something that your kid's going to want to do, not a chore. So I would say some really good ones to jump onto are websites like ABCYA Kids, TVO Kids, that have fun educational math and literacy games that your kid's going to have a lot of fun playing. And they're probably used to playing them at school already. I like TVO Kids a lot too because they have almost all their shows online. So with my kinders, I used to love playing for them Wild Kratts, where they get to learn about things, and it's also fun at the same time.
TVO is great because it does have the games, and a lot of their TV shows are directed towards learning. So yeah, I know time goes quickly. I just wanted to thank you so much for being here today and providing the practical tips around the scheduling and the resources and ways that kids and parents can connect around this learning at home. So just wanted to thank you so much for being here.
Oh, no problem. It was fun.
I want to extend a special thank you to all of our guests today on this Learning at Home and Resources episode. It was great to get an understanding from parents, teachers, and the students themselves, their perspective on what's happening right now and trying to learn at home and do our best. So I know as parents it can be challenging and frustrating, but know that you are doing the best that you can with supporting your kids with online learning. It's not an issue of being perfect. It's just an issue of being there, connecting and supporting them, and really looking around and using the resources that are available to you to really augment learning during this very, very unique time in our society. So for more information and resources, visit beyondtheclassroom.ca, and we will have a list of all the resources mentioned in today's episode. Until next time, thank you so much for watching.